What's up, MetaNerdz? This video is all about the XT Beetle Transport. This is a Separatist vehicle that we only saw once on screen in Season 1 of the Clone Wars TV show in an episode called Trespass. The episode where Obi-Wan and Anakin had to negotiate a peace between the Pantorans and the indigenous Tal species who wanted to be left alone on the planet Ordo Plutonia. Clone troopers were being mysteriously killed, and so the gang goes to check on a Separatist outpost to see if battle droids were responsible for this. And when they pull up on their BARC speeders, they see that the droid base was actually a makeshift outpost where they connected two XT Beetle transports and tied them together with these enormous cables. It's hard to find any information on this vehicle, but a bunch of you guys requested it, and so by examining some shots from this episode and looking at some concept art, we can actually learn a lot about this vehicle. Up front, it appears to have 4 heavy laser cannons, and that droids and vehicles would exit this transport via a bay door in the back. There also appear to be several hatch doors along the side of this vehicle, and we know that this thing is a walker, having 10 pairs of legs, 5 pair in the back, and 5 pair of legs up here that are covered in snow in this shot, but you can see a little bit of them sticking out in this other shot. The logo of the Confederacy of Independent Systems is all over the XT Beetle Transport, and it is much larger than the most famous CIS transport, the MTT, or Multi-Troop Transport. Interestingly, I think that we see the XT Beetle Transport here, in part because it's a walker. The MTT is a hover transport, and we know that repulsor lift technology generates a ton of heat, something that might be a big problem if you're trying to make it through a snow planet. Although it might seem like you'd want to just melt the snow away. Who knows how much of this snow you'd be melting, causing flooding problems, or how deep you might get yourself stuck into the snow if you keep melting further and further into it. Similarly, melting through ice obviously is a quick way to lose your transport. Heading inside of the XT Beetle Transport, we see that it has an enormous hangar bay, and the vehicle has at least 3 different levels. We can assume that the higher decks is where all the crew were. As we see when Obi-Wan and Anakin climbed to the top, they found what might have been a command center, since it contained a holo recorder. The XT Beetle is so large that it's reasonable to expect that this thing was often used as a forward operating base, seeing that its cargo space had room for hundreds, if not thousands of droids that could be stacked up in those deployment racks that we saw used in the MTT. Like we see in this episode, the CIS at least deployed them in pairs, but you could see how deploying several of these could make a very formidable droid base overnight. Later in the episode, the XT Beetles were used as a neutral meeting ground, but the Pantorans and Tals couldn't come to an agreement right away. After this event, the Separatists returned to Ordo Plutonia, this time bringing even more XT Beetles, as they tried to establish a foothold in the Pantora system, but the Republic was able to stop the transports by destroying the ice bridge they were on while they were crossing. A similar tactic was used during the Second Battle of Geonosis, when the Republic found the super tank's armor and shielding to be too tough for anything they could shoot at it. And so I'm thinking the XT Beetle Transport was most likely also equipped with ray shielding, and due to its enormous and bulky appearance, probably had extremely thick plate armor. And that's the last thing we ever hear of the XT Beetle Transport. But a very interesting behind the scenes fact is that its design is based on early concept art for the multi-troop transport. Lucas said that he wanted the droid transport to look something like a train, and as you can see, the XT Beetle Transport does look like a train version of the MTT. This concept art version also used repulsor lift technology, but I think for the snow reasons I mentioned earlier, this thing was converted into a walker, and then given a name to reference all of these little legs, by calling it the XT Beetle. Well, that's it for the XT Beetle Transport. There wasn't a lot of concrete facts on this, but I think I drew a lot of reasonable conclusions. But I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about the whole repulsor lifts versus walkers on ice? And do you wish we saw more of the XT Beetle? Or are you happy that it was just stuck in one episode? Let me know in the comments down below. If you liked it, go ahead and hit that like button, and be sure to leave a comment down below if I missed any cool facts, or if you have a suggestion for future videos. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at MetaNerdz so you can see us build Star Wars props and cosplays, along with some other cool Star Wars stuff. If you want to help support this channel, check out the description below for our Amazon store and our Patreon. And be sure to subscribe, because we're making videos like this every single day. But more important than all that, remember, you can always count on us to do an entire video on a vehicle that was only on screen for a couple seconds. And the Force will be with you, always.